the WNBA right now. Season's just underway. We're, 5-6 games in for most teams. Catlin Clark, hamstring injury, goes down. She is out for what they said was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They'll reevaluate. It's a soft tissue injury. It's not going to be 2 weeks. She's going to be out much longer than that. And just the impact that has had on the league so far, we're seeing some of these games that the Fever were playing and get moved to bigger arenas, and all of a sudden ticket prices are dropping significantly. So the Fever were supposed to play the Chicago Sky at the United Center here, where the Sky typically play at Wintrust. It's a little bit smaller arena, but Catlin Clark's in town. You're selling out the United Center for sure.
Yeah.
Well, ticket prices were like $85 a pop. With Clark in, that was just the get-in price.
Yeah.
They're down to about $25.
Oh, wow. Oof.
That's not going to be. That place is not going to be full.
$60 difference. Wow.
Right.
But you start to, and you should already know this, but for those that see that and hear that, you're like, wait a minute, is Catlin Clark that powerful? We know that name carries heavy weight.
Yes.
But when you are moving games from a team's normal arena to a bigger venue like the United Center with the Chicago Sky, which is the biggest arena in the NBA.
Yes.
You know that, all right, we're going to sell this thing out because it's Catlin Clark. And you throw in Angel Reese because that the rivalry.
Right.
I'm putting up air quotes for everybody that are listening to us right now, not watching us on Twitch, but the rivalry that's there, it's not a rivalry to me because you have to win some games in the rivalry. And I'm just talking WNBA now.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, they faced off against each other in college, and that was Angel Reese and LSU getting the national championship over Iowa and Catlin Clark. But hasn't been much of a rivalry since they've been
it really
in the
has
double.
not.
It's really been a one-sided thing with Catlin Clark and the Fever just dominating the Sky because there's levels to this thing. It's two different teams, but Catlin Clark is an attraction. And when you have those attractions, like a LeBron, I'm not comparing Catlin Clark to LeBron or anything like that, but just names out there in sports that we've seen over time. Michael Jordan, like just names that draw crowds that people are going to pay to come see. That price is going to be different. And when that player is not playing, and when you have a soft tissue injury like Clark is going through, people are going to say, I'll sit this one out. Like, when do they play the Fever again in Chicago? Maybe I'll come back for that game. And so maybe that's a game that you go back, and I'm looking at the schedule right now. So July 27th, which is going to be potentially a game. But, yeah,
But do we know, have they already moved that game?
I'm not sure if they moved the game, but I wouldn't be surprised
if they do. Especially with her missing this first one.
As I'm looking on the Sky schedule right now, that's an ABC game.
Ooh.
That's a Sunday afternoon ABC game at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, that one's going to the United Center. Yeah, you got to believe that. Yeah. The Fever and Mystics, they played the other day without Catlin Clark. Viewership of 357,000 on NBA TV. 8 days earlier, also on NBA TV, the Fever played the Dream, and there were almost 600,000. So viewership dropped by nearly 300,000.
That is a brand. The power of a brand.
Wild.
Wow.
Also, this Clark injury affects the MVP market for the WNBA because, I mean, what was it, just a week, 2 weeks ago, we were sitting here talking about Catlin Clark for MVP, and her price was minus 115, and we were saying, okay, I mean, she's won this award.
Right.
We're 2 weeks into the season, and she's already wrapped up the award. And had she stayed healthy, possibly, these have flipped drastically now. Nafisa Collier, who was right behind Clark when Clark was leading the race, but Nafisa Collier minus 275 right now over at BetMGM, and Catlin Clark plus 550. Now, she's still the second favorite, but I don't think she has a chance to win it this year. If she misses more time, the Fever have already dropped the 2 games that she hasn't been on the floor with them for.
Right.
And Nafisa Collier is playing out of her mind this season.
And this Lynx team is playing out of their mind.
Yes.
Like, you know, along with the Liberty, they're the only 2 undefeated teams in the W right now at 6-0. So, like that, when you go back to these individual awards, and I'm always a big proponent and fan and supporter of this, if you're going to win the MVP, you have to directly impact your team's success. Mm-hmm. You can't be a 500 ball club and think that you're going to win MVP. It's not going to work. You better be number 1 or number 2. Maybe top 3, but number 1 or number 2 with a team in order to get real consideration for MVP. But Nafisa Collier is doing that. I mean, we were having this conversation off air, and I brought up the point that She reminds me of what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going through last year, where Nafisha Collier could have been MVP last year with how great she was playing. And you saw the Lynx get all the way to the WNBA Finals and got that right there to the end. But she was a player that could have won MVP last year. It got to Asia Wilson. Asia had a great season. Can't take anything away from her. But this year, especially for Nafisha Collier and the Minnesota Lynx, coming off of just the failure of not winning that championship, you can see it in how they're playing. Their motivation is there. The power is there in terms of just how they just run through teams. Minnesota is serious, so they need to make sure that they continue this, because Kate Constable needs to show up at Target Center one more time.
I do.
Because the Minnesota Timberwolves ruined that experience for her. So Lynx, get it done. Get back to the WNBA Finals. Make sure that Kate is in the building when you clinch that WNBA title, and add another to your story franchise.
Or you might want to make sure I'm not in the building, because I am 0-3 over the last 2 years in the playoffs. I have not seen a W at the Target Center.
Wow.
In the 3 playoff games that I've been to for the Timberwolves over the last 3 years. Now, the Lynx have been carrying Minnesota sports for a long time. They went through their dynasty years. They're now kind of getting back up to the top there again. Yeah. So maybe that's different. But I think this Minnesota team, the Lynx that is, has a great shot of getting back to the finals again this year, which is really hard to do, even with a league like the W where it's a little bit more top heavy.
Right.
You still have, teams like the Aces that haven't played all that great to start the season, but look at the talent on that roster. They're going to figure it out at some point.
Right.
The Fever looked like they could have been a team that, could have been a finals team without Catlin Clark. That's a different story. Yep. The Liberty have been phenomenal to start the season. It's not easy in any league to go to back-to-back finals. We see that in the NBA, and at least we have the last 7 years. We've had different winners. But Nafisha Collier is certainly leading the way in the W this year.
Second favorites for the Lynx to win the title at plus 300. So you have
Who's the favorite? Liberty?
Liberty, plus 140.
Where are the Fever on that board?
Fever are, plus 450, so fourth.
Okay.
That's bad. I would not touch that.
No, definitely don't touch that.
Do not take any Fever futures, Clark futures right now.
Instead, just,
let it ride for a little bit.
Send us the money via, Venmo or Zelle or something like that.
We got to get a QR code on the screen or something. Jenna,
contribute to the Kate and Cam fund.
Yeah, I'll create something. I think I have some markers back here that I can figure out.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it makes for an interesting season as we move forward with the W. It's literally still fresh.
Yep.
Right? And I know we've talked about the dominant teams in the W. We got to talk about the teams towards the bottom, like the Chicago Sky.
Who play tonight?
Yes, and could possibly get their second win of the season. They got their first one the other night, Thursday night, which was great for them against the Dallas Wings at home in front of their fans.
And now they're on the road in Dallas tonight. Yeah. So same team. They have the rebounding advantage. Dallas is
and Paige Beckers is out, right?
Fairly
with concussion
small.
Protocol.
Oh.
Yes.
I was just looking up her prop for tonight. That's why.
Okay. She's out for 2 games minimum.
Well, that's interesting that she is out for 2 games, and the Wings are favored at home. That's the home court advantage line there.
Yeah, for sure.
But Beckers has been a big part of that offense. She's putting in 15 a game.
Yeah. I think and this is maybe another reason why, and I'm sure it is, that the Dallas Wings are favored in this one, is that they still have Enrique Gombawale.
Yes.
Who's
had, 37 the other night against
can score any way you want it. And so that plays a part into them being favorites. But I still think the Sky at plus 125 on a money line.
Not a bad bet.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? For a team coming off that first victory, and a lot of firsts in that one as well. Not only was it the first win of the season for the Sky, who are 1-5, but new head coach Tyler Marsh. It was his first victory as head coach in the WNBA. And then how about this? Courtney Vandersloot became the Sky's all-time leading scorer, surpassing her wife, the great Allie Quigley. How cool is that?
That's crazy.
Like to have the top 2 scorers in a professional franchise be married. That's cool.
Yeah, I saw, I didn't have the sound on my TV, but I was watching, and Allie Quigley was getting interviewed with their daughter.
Yeah.
I think a daughter, maybe a son. She was all bundled up, so I couldn't see. But that is pretty cool. And the fact that they played together in Chicago for a long time, too.
And won a trip together.
Yeah. And now Vandersloot still playing, and then Quigley sitting on the sidelines there, watching her break her own records. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So some cool stuff. So the Sky, plus 125 on the money line.
Not bad.
Put some money down on that. Gas station money. A few dollars.
And then also came Angel Reese fastest player in WNBA history, 500 points, 500 rebounds.
Yes, true.
Which I know she gets a lot of flack for her offensive rebounds and that, a lot of those being her own misses, which it's true.
Some people call them me-bounds.
Me-bounds. I have started to see that, yes. And I mean, it happens a lot, so she'll get better. Her game will hopefully grow in terms of finishing around the rim.
Yeah.
But you'd rather her grab those offensive rebounds than to become defensive rebounds.
I'm with you on that one. So definitely a force on the glass, but just need the finishing capability to be at a higher percentage. And let me correct myself. Sky are 1-4, not 1-5 on that one. So yeah. Look, I'm actually right now when we do our parlay. That's my bet.
Really?
I'm saying it right now in hour 2 of the better angle.
All right.
Give me the Sky plus 125 on the money line tonight. That's where I'm going.
All right.